The cross. It's probably the most recognized symbol on the planet. But have you ever stopped to think about what it actually is? It was an instrument of torture, of brutal public execution. So why would that be the central symbol of a faith built on love? Was all that violence truly necessary? That's what we're going to get into.
And that leads to the biggest question of all, right? If God is all-powerful, all-loving, why couldn't he just snap his fingers and say, "You're forgiven"? Why the cross? Why the blood and the suffering? Well, to get the answer, we have to understand that God's forgiveness isn't just about wiping a slate clean. It's about how his perfect justice and his insane love could possibly meet. See, to understand the solution, you first have to grasp the sheer scale of the problem. And we're not talking about small mistakes or having a bad day. We're talking about a fundamental, cosmic-level fracture between us and our Creator. So what even is sin? The Bible defines it as something far more serious than we usually think. It's not just breaking a few rules. The term that really captures it is cosmic treason. It's a rebellion. It's looking the Creator of the universe in the face and saying, "I know better than you." It's not a parking ticket. It's a declaration of war. And this rebellion, this treason, it had a stated consequence from the very beginning. A clear, non-negotiable penalty was laid out. In the book of Genesis, God tells Adam that the day he chooses his own way, he will surely die. And the original language here is incredibly powerful. The original Hebrew phrase is mot tamut. It's what's called an emphatic construction. It literally means, "Dying, you shall die." This isn't just a warning, it's a statement of absolute certainty, a guaranteed outcome. It's talking about both a spiritual death, separation from God, and an eventual physical death. This principle, that sin costs a life, is a thread woven all the way through the Old Testament. The entire sacrificial system was basically a constant visual sermon. Every single animal sacrificed was a graphic reminder that sin is deadly, and that forgiveness requires a substitute to pay that ultimate price. Okay, so the problem is huge. Our rebellion has created this massive chasm, and the toll to cross it is a life. But here's the twist. Not just any life would do. The sacrifice had to meet 3 seemingly impossible requirements, creating a divine dilemma. And this is the absolute heart of the dilemma. Think about this checklist. The sacrifice had to be fully human, right? To stand in our place, to represent humanity. But at the same time, it had to be perfectly sinless. Otherwise, it would just be dying for its own crimes. And here's the kicker. It also had to be fully God, because only an infinite being could absorb the infinite penalty for all of humanity's sin for all time. You see the problem? It's a paradox. Where in the universe are you going to find someone who checks all 3 of those boxes? And this is where the story pivots. This is the breathtaking genius at the heart of the Christian faith. The solution wasn't something we could ever come up with. The solution had to come from God himself. It came in the person of Jesus Christ, the one and only being in all of history who perfectly met every single requirement. Now, theologians have a big term for this: substitutionary atonement. But don't let the fancy words fool you. It's a simple, yet absolutely world-changing idea. Jesus took our place. He stepped into the courtroom, stood before the judge of the universe, and took the death sentence that had our name on it. He became our substitute. The Apostle Paul describes it as the great exchange. And you really have to let this sink in. On the cross, God treated Jesus, the only truly perfect person who ever lived, as if he had lived our broken, sinful lives. And in exchange, God gets to treat us as if we had lived Jesus' perfect, righteous life. He literally took all of our junk so that we could receive all of his perfection. Here's an analogy that might help. Imagine a criminal standing guilty before a judge. Justice demands a sentence. There's no way around it. But what if the judge, in an act of unbelievable love, steps down from the bench, takes off his robe, and stands next to the criminal to take the punishment himself? That's what happened at the cross. It is the one place in the universe where perfect justice and perfect love kiss. And there's another crucial word here: propitiation. The Greek is elasterion. It means a wrath-absorbing sacrifice. It means that Jesus' death didn't just kind of cover over our sin. It completely exhausted and satisfied the just, holy anger of God against our treason. Justice wasn't ignored, it was fulfilled. So we've walked through the what and the how of the cross, but what about the so what?
Why does a 2,000-year-old execution matter to you and me, right here, right now? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It changes absolutely everything. First, the cross holds up a mirror to the true horror of our sin. I mean, if that's what it took to fix the problem, then our rebellion against God is way more serious than we ever like to admit. Second, it's the ultimate proof of God's love. He didn't just send a nice thought. He sent his Son to die in our place. And third, it gives us an unshakable foundation for our assurance. Our standing with God isn't based on our performance, but on Christ's finished work.
And this all comes down to one of Jesus' last words from the cross, a single Greek word, tetelestai. Now, in the ancient world, this wasn't some mystical religious word. It was an accounting term. It's what they would stamp on a bill or a debt when it was paid off. It meant paid in full. The debt is canceled. Not put on a payment plan, not partially forgiven. It is finished, wiped out forever. So we're left with this reality. If the cross is what the Bible says it is, the most extreme act of justice and love imaginable, then it demands a response from us. It's not just an interesting piece of history or a theological idea to debate. It's a personal question for every one of us. The God who did not spare his own Son to save you is waiting. What will you do with that?